I was wondering.
I've always wanted to do that. Hello, everyone out there. As you can tell, I am not Richie, but hopefully you at least know my name at this point. Playoffs are finally here, and given I represent the number 1 seed, I should probably start the show off and do the intro and all those good things. Smug alert is in full effect.
Guys, I actually got something to take care of. I gotta.
Hey man, your team's in the playoffs too. All right, just just bask it. Just a little lower seed, but hey, you're there.
Hey,
here to my left, right, however you want to look at that, we got fan of the show, loyal viewer of the show, and now Chargers rep on the show, DZ, baby. How we doing?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good, man. Playoffs, baby.
Exactly. The Bolts are in. The Broncos are. It's crazy, seems like whenever they made all those moves with
wasn't
getting
it supposed
Mac,
to happen a few years ago?
Yeah. Everyone thought this would be it just took a few years to come to fruition, but it did.
Yeah.
And then below, we're getting a double dosage of the Chargers. This week, we have Roberto, who is staying safe in California despite what's going on there. If you don't know what's going on, where the hell you been?
News panel.
We are not sure where Richie is. I'm not sure if he is marked safe or has been kidnapped again. But we will definitely look into that. I'm sure he will show up at some point to bring us the Broncos rep. And as you can tell, our man Jack Kenna is not here. But given it is, playoff football time and some teams moving to the off season. Oh, there we go. Richie is here.
Oh, Richie.
Right in the middle. Woo!
All right. Sorry, guys. I had a major thing that I had to rework my entire setup here, and I did it at Mach 5. All right. We got to kick this thing off.
It's already kicked off. We're live.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. You're here.
That would have been very bad.
Get with the program. We've been live for 3 minutes.
Fantastic. Sorry, my whole setup crashed on me. So I was like, no.
It's good timing though. I just said I wasn't sure if you were safe or got taken. So at least we were able to confirm that early. Yeah.
The only thing that I have had here is an absolute just truckload and a half of snow. In the last since last week's episode. We've had a little bit over 4.5 feet of snow here.
Oh my God!
Complete opposite on my end.
Yeah. Robert's got fires. You got just snowmageddon. And
I'm crying about 8 inches, and he's got 4 feet.
Yeah. So in centimeters,
in Florida.
Just to give you an idea what that looks like. I'm 6'2", and the last time I went. Every time I went out after the big snowfalls, each snowfall was about up to just below my pockets, my jeans, and we had about 2 or 3 of those types of snowfalls here. It was insane.
Damn.
Yeah, and that is why you don't live in Canada.
That's why the president quit.
Well, he's just a little sissy bastard.
I can't handle the snow. I'm out.
Whoa! I seriously, is that true? Trudeau quit?
Yeah, he resigned. He resigned.
He didn't quit. He was laid off.
Yeah, he was basically. So he had two choices.
That.
He had 2 choices: resign in disgrace on Monday, or get fired on Wednesday. And he chose the resign in disgrace option. Either way. There was much rejoicing. My family and I had a little family chat where we were all, having a good time on the call. Let's just say I come from a family that is not a fan.
Richie,
Black Monday exists up there too. Black Monday exists up there.
Do you guys just put them on an iceberg and drift them out to sea? Is that how it works up there?
Just poke him away with a stick.
Yeah,
Well,
by
my-
exile.
My personal preference would be to force him to live in an igloo in Nunavut for the rest of his living days, because he seems to think that budgets balance themselves, and that living in Canada is easy for the average person, including those that are up north. So I just love for him to, get a taste of his own medicine in terms of what it's actually like to live without a trust fund at your back.
He should live with that lady on the Discovery Channel that lives in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think the world will be happy with that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But
Needs to just go on Squid
anywho,
Games.
we digress. Yes, we digress from the topics at hand. We've had some interesting things. Obviously, my initial prediction from last week's show was obviously not correct.
You were wrong, and I told you were wrong.
Sure.
I like saying that.
Except
And
I
by
can
the
do that
way,
without-
I was wrong about the garglers, and I'm getting that out there immediately. So you can't say that.
With the jab.
Okay, that's it. That's it. I said it.
I was wrong.
I M&M'd myself, but you were wrong. I was wrong about the garglers, but I still say
Are you talking about a season or the game prediction?
the season.
prediction off.
Okay.
The season.
Yeah, my biggest thing with the Broncos and the prediction in that game was, we even spoke about it, Alex, actually last show. You didn't think that the Chiefs were going to rest that many starters in that game. Like, we even said, like, you can't rest all your starters. And I was like, yeah, you can't. And then you guys went ahead and rested way more starters than we all.
Chiefs said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, they're like, wait a minute.
That's
you
just
don't
because
think
they're
we can do
scared of
that?
Cincinnati.
Oh my
Obviously.
god!
Well,
This
Yeah.
is the stupidest. I'm not even
I
a
don't-
Chiefs fan, and that's the stupidest
I
argument
know,
I've ever
but
heard.
dude,
Bengal
Bengals
fans
Twitter
make.
is just going berserk
Insane.
over it. It's funny.
yeah, I
It
don't
is
think that's
funny as hell.
I don't think that's a real thing. I think the Chiefs are more looking at.
We have a
few
lot
guys
of
that are
older
banged
guys.
up.
Well,
Well, no, they
you
have
know, I
older
looked
guys
at it
and they're
this,
banged
and
up, right?
I know I said it last week, but they were coming off of playing 3 games in 11 days.
This
Yeah.
is true.
On
Right.
top
Yeah.
of you had Chris Jones banged up, you had DJ Humphries, who they signed to be their, secure left tackle, banged up. You had Pacheco banged up, so it just made sense, with there really nothing to do. Like everything's already locked up. Why not? And I mean, they've rested guys before. Definitely not. I don't think to that magnitude. Of just so I think there was about 10 people that just outright did not play.
Yes.
Some played like first drive to get their consecutive starts going.
And Broncos did not care, man. They put it on.
Hey,
I knew it was gonna be a
them.
bad game once they had that like double doink touchdown. I was like,
Yeah.
this is Carson
yeah.
Wentz is done.
Well,
there's
gonna
no
be that kind of
magic in
day.
him. Yeah.
And to his credit, that was Vele, who we all know is a dude that I was quite high on, even in the draft, like pre-draft process. I really thought that he was a perfect option for my Denver Broncos.
He was the dude
nice-
you predicted, right?
I predicted him we were
Yeah,
going to take him.
the draft.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually predicted that we were going to take him. I think I had him either in the 6th or 7th round of my draft. So I was plus or minus a pick or two, basically, in terms of when we actually got him. Which is great.
I'm sorry, you guys are going to have to catch. And I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I really not. I saw none of the Bronco Chiefs game, and they didn't even put a score up at Allegiant when we were playing the Chargers. I was looking for it. All the other games were covered. So I actually, and by the way, have you guys seen my scooter? It's awesome because you can go from the hotel to the game and back. Don't have to worry about an Uber, which you try getting an 88 Uber in Vegas. You're going to be waiting about an hour and a half. But my mobility device will go from my hotel to the game and back. And I can, and trust me, it's got got some power
Got
to
some
it.
torque now.
Oh, dude,
Deck
it's
it out
awesome.
on Raiders
Yeah,
gear?
Some torque.
Captain, is it decked
great.
out?
I mean, roll around
Oh,
the Como.
Go on my Facebook and Instagram, and it is all airbrushed, rated out.
I just
Oh,
picture
yeah,
like
I'll
Waterboy,
have to check that
like
out.
Waterboy with his lawnmower. I just like Cap with a little
It-
scooter, just going 40.
It can go. It can go. I don't know. I don't know about the red. I don't know about the red. Waterboy. Outboard thing, but mine can actually fly at the when you put all the was when you charge it up. But yeah, and it saves yeah. There you go. When you save the money off the Uber and whatnot, I can fly through. It's all it is going sidewalk and overpasses, elevators at work, and then you take a tram. Dude, I can be in the stadium in about 20. I think it was like 25 minutes from my hotel down to the Allegiant. Going all the way with all the little ups and downs and whatnot. 25 minutes is not bad considering that I'm driving and taking some routes. So, it's awesome. And I don't have to worry about transportation. And I'm rolling, baby. I'm like, on your left. Hey, get your head out of your ass.
You got a horn?
No, yeah, the horn sucks. I need somebody that can get me.
Get you a musical one. Like,
You gotta get a bell.
I need one that actually is like one of those nice diesel horns.
You want an air horn. Yeah, you want a
mic
horn.
bell.
You need like
I
sounds
want
like
one.
a semi.
Yes,
You know
I need
what?
one.
A guy here in near around where I live actually installed one.
Even better
on
idea.
His, no,
You need
I got
autumn
a
wind.
dude. Yeah.
Hey, that would be good if you can get it. And any ideas, I'm taking. Get a hold of me. There, you give it. Captain.jack.rack on Instagram. At Captain Jack. If you got a guy, I got a friggin' guy.
I
man.
got a horn guy, man.
It fell
Tony,
off the effing truck. You know what I'm saying? It just fell off the truck.
Captain Jack, I have the website. I'll send it to you of a horn. They have electric horns that would work for you, but they primarily deal in like diesel horns and like train horns that go into trucks. But they do have electric ones that would work for you.
Dude, I'm there. DZ, and notice I said it correctly because that dude. DZ, I love you for it, brother.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Man. Yeah, I'll send it
That's
over.
fantastic.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell I was talking about. I made a Captain Jack rant. I'll give it back to you, Rich. About the game. I had no clue what happened.
Is there a mute button? No, just kidding. So let's go over and talk about the Chargers Raiders game, and then Alex, we can jump into the Chiefs Broncos briefly, and then it's probably best that we then kind of jump right over into kind of what's to come. So quickly though, before we start with the two Chargers guys here, Dzad and Robert. Before we jump into the Raiders Chargers, wanted your thoughts on the Zeke Elliott signing to bolster your practice squad / running back room. Quickly, your thoughts on that, both of you, and then we'll jump into the Raiders Chargers game.
Robert, do you want to go first?
Oh, yeah. I'll go.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Really quick. I mean, it's not like a huge, oh my God, it's Zeke signing. It's just completing the Ohio State Michigan kind of rivalry that exists within our roster.
Yeah.
But it's a come playoffs, you're gonna need bodies. Guys are gonna get hurt, especially at the running back position. Obviously we have JK, Gus Edwards, Vidal, Haskins, so just another body to have. We'll see if and what he contributes, but I'm not like expecting anything. And, if he gives us anything, it'll be a positive.
I have a little bit of different take with it. And I think it has to do with the Raider game, not primarily just the Raider game. From what I heard, fans there was like only two backs being used in that game. That was Haskins and JK. Supposedly there's some fans at the game and they saw Vidal was getting chewed out on the bench. And
yeah,
he's
I did hear
rookie.
about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, and he's a smaller kind of scat back. And then Gus didn't play because he's been banged up. He did come back to practice, but he's probably not 100 on that ankle. And what happened during that game is I think we tried to rush it in 3 times on the goal line and didn't get
And
it.
you got snuffed.
And
Sorry.
we got snuffed. Yeah.
Yep.
Great job.
Zeke
By
Elliott wouldn't get snuffed, dude.
So I think they saw
could be
him
it.
out there, and they're like, okay, we can have this guy for 1 yard. And then another thing is he's a great pass blocker for those
He
3rd
is.
and longs.
Yeah.
So, why not? Like, just don't have him do anything else, because I'm petrified that he's going to just let that ball right out of his hands.
Yep. Yeah, I don't expect him to get too much
that makes sense.
like starting reps. It'll be like a lot of goal line carry, a lot of 3rd down pass protections. Sure. But I mean, it's like I said, playoff times you're gonna need all the help you can get. It can't hurt you. So
Right.
have to
100%.
sign extra guys,
Awesome. So that's a fairly good transition there, actually, between the two of you to kind of jump into the Raiders-Chargers game. Obviously, you had some challenges with punching the ball in there. Ultimately, still won. Thoughts on the game? Things you liked, things you didn't like, and maybe a little bit of a future prediction there as we look ahead to say, we best clean this up, or
DZ, you want to take off on this one?
I think we started the game a little sluggish. I think did we go 3 and out 3 times in a row?
Yes, yeah. Well, at least twice in a row.
Yeah, it was
one of those
sluggish,
times
and
might have been that missed field goal.
Raiders, that was really weird.
I know Cameron Dicker, the rare Dicker miss.
It came off his foot weird too, because I was like,
it did.
As soon as it happened, I'm watching and I'm yelling at my girl. I'm like, that's gone, that's shanked, and it was. But Raiders, they came to play. I mean, look, it's a ragtag group right now on defense, and but they came to play, and it took a little bit for the Chargers to get going. Once they got going, it was it's expected for a team kind of beat up like the Raiders are, missing a lot of their keystone guys on defense. QJ had a game of his career, which is it's like, I'm like, if this can carry any momentum into playoffs, that would be amazing. I think he get 186 yards, no tutties, but 186 yards. Yeah, awesome.
14.
Yeah. Justin Herbert's playing out of his mind right now. In this system, he's played really well these last few weeks, so that's boding well heading into the playoffs. But right as the game started, we had an unexpected scratch, and that was Rashawn Slater. He felt something wasn't right in his right knee. I believe it was his right knee, and which the whole fan base is immediately freaking out. We're like, oh Jesus, here we go. So they shuffled the O-line around, and believe it or not, Jack Kenna's one of Jack Kenna's guys. He went to left tackle and played pretty good. Played really good. I mean, especially a guy who's been playing right side this whole year. But it wasn't a smooth transition. Let's just say that. We didn't really run the ball too much. I mean, I think JK had like 60 some odd yards, and Justin had the longest run of his career, which was 42, which was pretty cool to see. Did get somebody ran him down. I forgot who was. I'm sure Jack knows.
Well, it was
Snowden. Snowden.
It was the defensive end Snowden after, and that was a hell of a run by Herbert. I mean, it surprised the hell. I think it surprised the hell out of everybody. Because everybody was covered rather well, which was amazing considering that McConkey was just eating everybody's lunch on the soft zone. But when Herbert did that, and it was like a 42-yard run or something like that, it was long. And the fact that Snowden got him, I believe it was Snowden, at like about the 8-yard line, I was surprised that he didn't go in for the touch.
Yeah, same. Other than that, I mean, I'll let Robert pick up on some, but I want to give a kind of shout out, and I kind of hate saying this, but, give some flowers to the Raiders. They've got some really good pieces to build off of for the next few years. That tight end duo they have, Myers, some of those guys on the O-line, some guys on defense. I know they have a lot of free agents, as a lot of people do, but they've got some really good pieces, and I'm going to be interested to see how this works for Las Vegas going in the future, especially with Brady going to be in the ear and kind of helping make decisions going forward. But I mean, Bowers and Myers, man, just
Bowers is
amazing
good.
weapons.
But so is Quentin Johnston.
I mean,
Yeah,
My
man.
dynasty pick.
I think QJ caught the whole Raiders defense by surprise. They're like, "What the hell is going on?" Like they were probably just as shocked as the whole Charger fan base.
Well,
to be
when you
honest.
saw him make that like kind of diving one-handed catch on that go route, and you
What?
saw him come down with that, that's when you knew like, oh, okay, so he's gonna have that kind of day, huh? So like
Yeah.
he's feeling himself today. Yeah, I mean you
Good for
pretty much.
him.
No, honestly, yeah, he deserves it. He's caught a lot of flack over, obviously this year and obviously last year. I think a lot of the guys on this team last year, you could just see the difference in play. One of them being Derwin James. I mean, that guy, from what he looked like under Lynn to what he looked like under Staley, and now what he's looking like under Minter, we're seeing a lot of that 2018 rookie Derwin again, where he's playing in the box, playing up on the line of scrimmage, going after the QB, doing what he does best. He's a physical specimen. So, let the guy, if our pass rush isn't that great, and it really hasn't been, Bosa and Mac have obviously Mac is, the decline is eventually going to come, and it definitely came this year.
Yeah.
Bosa has always been kind of, decline-ish. His biggest thing has just been health, but, having Derwin blitz, kind of like an extra blitzer. I think he's got like 5.5 sacks on the season, I want to say. And I mean, he's got that as a safety, that's
he has
pretty
more than Bosa.
He might. It's either more or like the same, but yeah.
same.
Robert, there's an easy solution to Bosa for you though.
What, cut him?
No, you just need to start sending him Guinness so he drinks man drinks instead of
waterboard him in seltzers.
Yeah, like Smirnoff Ice is not a man's drink. I'm sorry. Like it is basically Bosa and all of the college sorority girls drinking the seltzer drink. So
White Claw, that says it all right there.
Yeah, that's disgraceful, man.
My solution is to send him Guinness. He needs to make up the time. He needs to sort himself out, and then he will be good again. It's all good.
Yeah,
that is the solution.
Yeah, if he somehow goes back to his 2017 form, I will do whatever it takes to see that. But unfortunately, I don't see
Robert,
that happening.
I'm glad you brought up Derwin. I feel like he kind of gets overlooked.
He does.
Dude is he's an animal. Like
he should be an all-pro. I'm sorry, like Kyle Hamilton's good. I know some of these other safeties in the league. I mean, Derwin is just he's the leader on that defense.
I think it's because he's not playing deep at all, really.
Yeah,
like
because
he's had some games for injuries, but like for the most part, he's down in the box, which a box safety is nuts to begin with, especially the guys you have to go against. I mean, he's taking on tackles and tight ends and stuff. But like
there you go. Bosa 5, Derwin 5.5. So yeah, he's got half more than Bosa.
I think that says a lot when your safety is the dude.
Salute to Coach, by the way, for that.
Yeah,
Mission Coach.
He's your guy in the chair right now, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's the call a friend.
But yeah, so basically just continuing on with the game. Obviously, the Chargers go into the playoffs on a 3-game win streak. That's obviously a great sign. You always want to go into the playoffs hot, and this offense is certainly getting hot at the right time. I understand the level of play we have been facing, or the teams that we've been facing. The Patriots, the Raiders. Obviously, the Broncos was a good win, but Patriots, Raiders, 2 of the bottom barrel teams. So. But it's just confidence. It's confidence for the team going into the playoffs. Your first matchup is against a kind of limping Texans team, so I think it's good for us to have this winning streak going into it. I'm
not going to buy into that, Robert.
No,
I'm not going to buy into the Texans team.
I don't see it. I don't say that to be like, oh, it's going to be an easy win and we're going to stomp. But that team is like. Just not even trying to be, arrogant or anything.
Don't make me do my characters like I do on my other show.
Oh,
because
no.
I'll do characters. Well, you don't have the Tennessee guy, you don't have the Dallas guy, and we ain't talking about that Detroit guy because he speaks French. But I will do a Texan guy just for all you bastards in San Diego or San Angeles, wherever the hell you guys play anymore. Okay, I'll do that for you, Robert and DZ. I'll Alex, y'all in
For the
Canada.
hole.
Screw it. Don't do it. Don't No, it's all. It's all. All is king. All is king. And so are the bitches in Houston on the strip tease. Just saying.
Baby.
There you go. I'm here all show anyway, but I'll take this off for a minute when we talk about the guy.
Bet.
Whoa, Cap, where'd you go?
I'm here. Yeah, well, it was an out of body experience. But hey, if I can throw those characters in there. By the way, Wild West is preceded by NFL Nation Live, and you can get all of those characters. Although a lot of them are out for the playoffs, so we'll see. We'll see how long the Texan guy lasts. But go ahead, Robert, and finish your bullshit about the Garglers.
So yeah, I saw it more so as, this team moved up or kept their 5th seed from the 6th, obviously, once the Steelers lost. So that's not a reward, but you're obviously facing the easier opponent because I think everybody agrees they would rather face the Texans than the Ravens.
And not having to go cross country.
And not having to go cross country is a big deal. So, that was obviously the big side of it. The Chargers just did but what they have done all season, and it's why they've sustain this level of success this early on, and that's control the clock. It's control the ball, maintain possession, and it's what they've done these last 3 games, this 3-game winning streak. I actually looked at a stat, and it's actually insane. I mean, not that it's a surprise to anyone, but 9 of the bottom 10 teams in turnovers made the playoffs, and the Broncos were actually 12th. So you could say 10 out of the 12 bottom least turnover teams all made the playoffs. So, I mean, it just goes to show it's something as simple as don't turn the ball over. Yeah, ball security, and you can go a long way with that. It is you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert who protects the ball, but he also can make those deep plays, and the defenses have to respect that deep throw ability because he can at any time take the top off the defense.
Question on that stat, Robert, just because I'm curious. Just, stats are sometimes misleading, and I think it's just important to kind of know what that represents. Turnovers, is that offense turning the ball over, or is that the net turnover differential that you're referring to?
I am referring to it is net turnover differential. So net it is.
I'm actually surprised with that because the Broncos defense have been, if not the best, like top 2 in the league at defensive turnovers.
Actually, I'm sorry.
I think that's only offense.
Yes, you're right. It is only offensive turnovers. Yeah. So on offense, the Chargers have obviously, because you can't control, because I think we actually had a fumble recovery that we then fumbled back, and that counted as one of our turnovers this year. So, it's kind of hard to put that on the offense, obviously. So, but you're 100% right. Good call on that. So yeah, it is, just straight offensive turnovers, and it's from night and day from last year to this year.
Robert,
obviously,
was Justin's last interception against the Raiders or the Patriots?
No, it was the Broncos.
It was that was his 3rd?
Yes,
because if he would have stayed with 2, then he would have been tied with Rodgers for like the record, NFL record.
Yeah. Well, it's him, Brady, or I think it was Brady. Him, Rodgers, and Brady are the 3 QBs to have over 500 pass attempts in a season and throw 3 interceptions or less. Obviously,
I think
Herbert threw
Rodgers
3, Brady
2.
and
that was an 8.
Yeah. Rodgers threw 2, and that's So Herbert, and honestly, that interception against the Broncos was more of a better play.
Picks?
Yep, only 3 picks, but
he doesn't have a lot of passing touchdowns comparative to like some of these other guys. But look, I mean, they're winning in other ways.
Hey, O'Connell only threw 4
earlier. Time of possession has been like a weapon the Chargers have used a lot.
Lamar only threw 4 too.
Yeah, I mean, this is why everybody's saying Lamar should be MVP because he has all
Lamar's
those touchdowns.
Playing out of his mind, man.
It's tough for me to give a 3rd MVP to a guy that has never been to a Super Bowl. But that's a whole separate argument. I'll get into that later.
Yeah, I agree.
Just rounding out, you were talking about the pressure. For this game felt very similar to the first Raiders game we played, where it was kind of gruggy in the first half, very close, typical divisional game between two division opponents. Like, you know, I think a lot of Charger fans were a little bit PTSD'd on this game. Like, you know, Quentin had an early drop, and then there was another. Or I'm sorry, not a drop. There was just a few miscues early on, and then Herbert gets sacked early on. So there was just a lot of things that happened in the first half that kind of gave Chargers fans a little bit of pause. But, you know, we continue to play our game. Henley gets a perfectly timed interception right before half, allows us to get another 8 points with the 2-point conversion. Herbert on that throw, by the way, breaking every cardinal sin for a quarterback, rolling out, throwing across his body in the middle of the field. And I mean, I know it's technically the red zone, but, you know, 2-point conversion. And I mean, he just straight lasered a lad. I mean, like, there's, again, I say this every week, there's like 3 QBs that can make that throw. It's Mahomes, it's Allen, and it's Herbert. And that's pretty much the list right there. So to have that kind of guy going into the playoffs, I mean, you can't help but feel good about your chances.
I agree.
Well, if you want to have something from somebody who was actually at the effing game and watched the effing game live and not on TV. Oh, let me see. Is there somebody on the panel that, oh, yeah, it's me. It's me.
Did you bring your broom?
Because I'm trying not to swear, I will just do this.
New Year's resolution?
No, I'm just trying because I know that they try not to on this show. And other than by the way, I dropped so many F-bombs on my escapade out.
Trying to get sponsored by PBS. So, yeah, let's keep it short.
Hey, I'm just saying, by the way, I'm sorry that this camera is the best one because then you get a side view of me with guys. But anyway, I was at the game. And as Robert was saying, this was a very nip-tuck game. And I was liking everything that I saw about it because the Raiders were winning and right before, like 30 seconds before half. And I didn't even see the interception because I was about ready to, go in and then do my halftime stuff. And I'm like, you got to be effing kidding me. And that interception and the subsequent points was and I'm going to say it, you can tell me that I'm being fixated on BS, but the way the officials called that game, because my other friend who was at the game, by the way, in the other end zone and got on the back judge for the way that he did and did not call flags on the particular teams that were there, really screwed us on that, okay? It was nip-tuck. Good to see you there, Jack, by the way. It was a very close game, but when you were going to get screwed without the benefit of KY and you give it over to the Chargers and get that extra oomph before halftime, it sucked. It sucked. But like I said, as you were saying, it was a game that the Raiders came out and were playing. And remember, with depleted rosters, I think we played well in all consideration. But again, the Chargers were a better team this past Sunday, but not by that much. So again, it's and I appreciate the fact that you say that we have a building blocks. And the point is, though, is how many of those building blocks are going to be there after what happens to be determined with the head coach for the Raiders. I'll just leave it at that. We'll see what happens.
That's a good point, but I did try to mention most of those rookies, but that is a good point. They could be trade bait as well.
Well, no, I think it's going to be, does Max want to stay? Or is Max a trade casualty for somebody who wants to give up 2 1s and maybe a 3? And then you get a lot of collateral for him. And here's the other thing. Do the Raiders want to trade up in this draft for a quarterback that I wouldn't go for, other than Ward?
Me neither.
Other than Ward, like I said, and Ward and Shedeur Sanders really, like, they sucked. They suck in their bowl games. If you're going to get a quarterback in this draft, I say get Jackson Dart or Dylan Gabriel and wait on them. But that's just me. They don't listen to me in Vegas because Tom doesn't have me on speed dial yet, but maybe he will. But
Just bring
again,
a surfboard, and then maybe he'll listen to you.
Well, yeah, I will say this though, for all the Charger fans that were bitching and moaning about Tom Telesco, he had a fantastic draft, he did well in free agency. You know, you can't factor in the fact that Wilkins got injured. You can't factor that in. But, you know, picking people like Kayvon Chaisson, who's going to be that other defensive end, the people that he picked up in free agency, the draft picks that we had with 1, 2, and 3, and you go, Eichenberg didn't really produce, but even at the bottom, because he was injured, but at the bottom of the rounds as well, those defensive backs showed enough that, you know, he did well. So he needs another 1 or 2 drafts and some good free agency. And he doesn't write the contracts like he got blamed for with the Garglers. It was all the Spanoses that wrote all of those bad contracts. It wasn't Telesco. So people need to remember that. But anyway,
right.
Chargers were a better team, and I'll give them that. And again, it remains to be seen what happens with the Vegas Raiders because it's a big question mark right now. I can't even say we're going to be coming back with piss and vim and vigor and vinegar because I don't know who's going to be our head coach.
I'm looking at the Raiders with a couple questions. One, Telesco, in my opinion, has a tremendous benefit. I have always been very high on Champ Kelly. And Champ Kelly is not just respected, but he is well respected in very, very elite and upper echelon NFL circles.
Yes, he is. And I don't know whether he's going to be there anymore. That's
where I'm going with this, right? Which is, so you have Telesco and you have Kelly. So then the question becomes, you have to actually make a legitimate decision depending on what happens and transpires with other teams this offseason. Kelly will for sure
he will be a GM somewhere else.
Like he will be a GM. And so then the question becomes okay, so your comments there earlier, they have been well noted, and I agree.
Yeah.
However, who was responsible for pushing the picks that the Raiders actually got? So, for example, was Telesco the first round guy and then said, "Champ, you do the rest," or was this more of a mutual draft? So now Telesco has the benefit of maybe a personnel guy, because that's what Champ Kelly really is. He's a great personnel guy, and who identified a lot more deeper talent that Telesco would be, for example, incapable of doing on his own. So the risk that the Raiders actually run here, and this is going to be an interesting test actually for your organization. I'm not just saying this as a, turning the knife into a divisional opponent here to kind of make a snide comment, but if you let Champ Kelly go and the Chargers Telesco is what kind of emerges for you as a result without that backstop of Champ Kelly there, you will know very quickly which side of which coin each of these guys kind of landed in terms of, who was the brains, who was the brawn, or who was the GM and name only kind of thing. And
well, I would say, and great point, Richie, and I kind of knew where you were going with that. Champ Kelly deserves to be a GM in his league. And if somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, we got a job for you," he's going to be gone. And, it's unfortunate for us, but great for him because he deserves that, And I don't think the Raiders are gonna say, especially I think his contract is up, there's nothing that we can do about it. It's like when people were saying if Patrick Graham goes, we're sucking. Patrick Graham is gone. He did not take that contract extension. So there will be a brand new defensive coordinator, no matter who is the head coach. So there's going to be a lot of that upheaval within the organization. And Champ Kelly, I'm sure he did a lot on that draft. I'm sure he did a lot, but I'm pretty sure that Brock Bowers was a Telesco pick. That is all about BPA. And for all those people that were poo-pooing it, I still say that he was the best first round pick in the draft. because
Hey, Cap.
he broke every rookie record going. And as
he's
Richie and I,
special, dude. He's
and
definitely special.
Richie and I had the discussion. I think it was on my show when he came in. By the way, I have a show too, so come on over and talk to me. Anyway, there's a blatant plug. But anyway, the fact is, when you break records as a rookie, and Richie said, and I said he deserves to be rookie. Oh, that's an awesome looking dog. But he's not going to get the sniff because it's going to go to Jaden Daniels most likely.
Yeah,
I agree.
And
Even
you know,
Bo Nix
and again, I think he's better than Bo Nix. And no, that's not me being an asshole. I just think that he did more as a rookie than Bo Nix did. But Bo Nix did bring him to the playoffs, so that's his positive. But Jaden Daniels is going to win this outright. But again, look at what he did as a rookie when you break every friggin' rookie record there is, along with the rookie record within your position group. When you break Mike Ditka's record, when you break Puka Nakua's record, these are rookie records. It should be an accomplishment. Yeah, he's going to be an all-pro Pro Bowler easy, but that's beside the point. But again, upheaval, and again, Richie, back to your point, if Champ Kelly goes, and we'll see, because I think obviously the Raiders will keep Telesco for another year or two, depending upon his contract, but we'll see if he is that guy, or if he's that guy that Gargler fans, I got to say it, because I can't stand your effing team. But when Gargler fans say that, I think that Telesco was one thing that the Raiders needed is a GM that has some damn pedigree. He's not Reggie Marbles McKenzie. He's not Mike Mayock, and he's not Ziegler. I don't even remember what his first name is because I want to forget him. The point is these guys didn't have any experience as a GM, and Tom Telesco at least did. He's going to get you BPA and experience there. But there you go, Richie. That's my answer.
Captain, I have a question. How many do you know off the top of your head? How many players Tom brought in throughout the season?
I don't. I really don't. But I gave you the examples of people that he did bring in and the positives that they got with him. Like you said, Caleb Jason was. Yeah,
that was
Caleb Jason was great. That he
never brought in anybody. He never brought in guys that were injured. It was always just elevate practice squad. Our new GM has brought in Robert. I don't know. Like, what do you think? 10,
he brought in like
10, 12 players.
Well, yeah, we talked about this, about the insane stat that Tom Telesco made one trade to acquire players in his entire 11-year tenure as Chargers GM. He only ever made one trade in like 2007 or something, like early on in his tenure, for a no-name player, no-name linebacker. That was the only move he ever made to acquire talent. This is why we say Tom Telesco, yeah, he picked, BPA, and a lot of people say, oh, well, he drafted Justin Herbert, so he should get some credit for that. Yeah, Justin Herbert fell to him. As much as we all love Herbert as Charger fans, he was the third quarterback taken in that draft. Like Telesco, credit that he took him, but there were also it could have been Tua, and how far set back with this franchise. A lot of Charger
fans wanted Tua too,
and a lot of Charger fans wanted Tua. I mean, look, Telesco is gonna give you BPA. That is, I guess, his highlighted quality. You at least know he's not gonna reach early in the first round and get players that are just not worth it. He's either going to stay put and let players drop to him, and sometimes that results in, Brock Bowers or some good players falling to him, and he gets lucky, like Derwin, like Herbert. And then that also means that he's going to pick some busts, like Jerry Tillery. Like Melvin Gordon was kind of a bust, but you took him third overall as a running back, and he really didn't do much. I'm going to consider that a bust. I mean,
was almost ready to say Zion Johnson, but
Harbaugh might have saved that one. So I'll give him the pass on that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even saying this as like a petty Charger fan or anything like that. I truly am saying this as like football analysis. Like Tom Telesco does not know how to draft after the first round. So,
okay, hey, and we'll find out.
Yeah,
100%, 1,000% we will.
Maybe he turned a new leaf in Vegas.
I have one more thing, and then I kind of want to move on to the Chiefs and Broncos, just so we can kind of get into the playoff stuff. Captain, I do wonder if Mark Davis has an evaluation already completed or in the process of being completed on the basis if Champ Kelly gets the interview request to move on to another team. And so what I mean by that is Telesco's on a 2-year deal, as was Antonio Pierce. They got rid of Pierce already, but they haven't made any changes or moves at the GM position, because I think that they saw what they did in this year's draft with Kelly and Telesco, and they liked what they yielded from this year's draft and are saying, well, if we can keep the band and bring the band back together, then why not? But I do wonder, and this is what I'm actually thinking here, is if Champ Kelly was the guy that did the legwork and he was the guy that kind of put the guys on the board and the front office, or ownership rather, when I say front office, I actually mean ownership in this regard, knows that Champ Kelly was the real kind of guts behind it, and then Telesco just helped them maneuver and kind of make the right choices at the right times, maybe as like a seasoned veteran, to your point, like, you know, having a captain that sailed on many ships at this point, you know, in the building. They might opt to then say, do you know what, we were hoping to keep the two guys together, but we want the talent evaluator because we are a team that needs to acquire and accumulate more talent on the roster. And we believe that he can bridge the gap in terms of, you know, the maneuverability component of the draft. He's got the 1-year experience. And I do wonder, just thinking out loud here, if the Raiders are forced with that decision, that they may kick Telesco to the curb and say, we are not letting to the turd or curb, whatever you can call, you know, Chargers fans will say, yes, turd. That's not even turd. Yeah. And I do wonder if the Raiders are playing like 3D chess almost, like in terms of the way that they're working.
The other component is Tom Brady, and you know how much involvement is he going to have, and you know he can have involvement. We all know Mark Davis has a infatuation a little bit with the Patriots, and you know chasing that Patriot way. So you know how much credence is he going to give to Tom Brady to say like, you know, pick my quarterback. Tell me what I got to do for a coach. Like, tell me how I need to build this roster. And, you know, so that, I mean, that's another variable to it that, you know, I think needs to be considered.
1 second. This is actually when I got it. Okay, cool. I got a message, but she's calling me, but I'll call her back. The component of that is, again, I don't know what Champ's contract status is, if he is with the Raiders for another year or if he is at the end of his I know that they like Champ so much that they made the assistant GM position just for him. That was unprecedented. The fact that they thought enough of him that they gave him a job because he deserved the job when they brought Telesco in. I don't know if he was on a 1 or a 2. And even having said that, I think that if the Raiders are thinking, and this is with, you know, the mop head that is our owner, or actually technically the son of the owner, because Carroll still owns the Raiders, and that's why Brady's getting a little bit of an ownership, and Richard Seymour is getting a little bit of an ownership, and the Vegas group that got like another X amount of percentage is because Mophead's going to have to start paying those taxes on the team when his mom dies. And this is my thinking on that, but I would think that I am actually thinking positively and you know, getting the shit lined up. He's going to need money, and that's why he has all of this other money coming in, because he's going to have to pay on the team. And Givens is a friggin' lawyer. He can tell me about whatever the thing is. When you inherit something, you got to pay a lot of money especially for something that has that much. Bruce, I got it, but you know, 5% and 5%.
He's missing. And 20%, he's missing the. Yeah,
he's missing the money.
He's getting Davis, when his mom dies, it'll transfer over, and that'll become an inheritance tax of the valuation of the team. And Mark Davis will actually have to have liquid cash in order to then pay off the inheritance tax. And so, yes, 5% is 5%, but that's the 5% liquid cash, as in moolah, that Mark Davis is going to need to have on hand to pay off those taxes, because The IRS in the U.S. is no joke, and Mark Davis does not want to mess around with that, and ultimately he will then have ownership transferred over to himself solely.
So this all
from
hangs on his mother right now?
Dying.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, and his mom is in the 90s. He's not the owner. Everybody forgets that. Carol Davis is the owner. So if you Seymour and Brady have 5%, whether I think it's Brady 5% and Seymour 5%, and those other guys in the Vegas banking or casino industry have 10 or 15. I'm not sure what it is, but that is liquid effing money that he is going to need in order to keep the Raiders. That's the bottom line.
The Chargers did something similar this offseason as well. They sold a minority to the Detroit Pistons owner. I think it's 27%. And I'm wondering if that has to do with taxes or something like that. I have no clue, but
Probably.
Alex, what do you call somebody who, like, if somebody dies and there's a will and then somebody controls that will?
Beneficiary?
Beneficiary.
No, it's another term where you are
Controls
like
the will.
A trustee.
Yeah.
A trustee.
So
Trustee. I know about
Mark
trustee.
Davis is like the
Or
trustee
the executor
right now.
of the will.
Yeah, so that's what he is essentially right now, I guess, in kind of a weird term, because he's still running the show.
He can't be the executor and the beneficiary of it.
Well, so
he is
then tell me how
he is
he's
the
running
sole
the show if he
beneficiary.
doesn't own it.
It's probably a trust that owns the team, and so
Ding,
that
ding, ding.
trust will be dispersed once she dies, which
Okay.
will go to him as the surviving heir or whatever.
Heir.
Sole heir.
I mean,
Yeah,
that is
sole
what
heir.
it is. That's a legal term.
I know. I just, every time I hear that, I think of like royalty and like
it's stupid. Some of the words you got to use.
Well,
are
His
Robert,
father had to have rolled into
Robert,
his
his
grave 100
team
The
is
surviving
worth like
bro.
4.8 billion. He's basically royalty. So let's just call it duck and duck.
That's fair.
Like,
That's very.
He owns one of 32 other aggressively valued sports football teams.
31.
31.
31.
Yeah. 32 total.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So again, and Raiders Rebel, like I say, Carol Davis owns the team, not Mark. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that goes around. But the answers to all of these questions, what will Mark Davis and I will say this: if Mark Davis wants to take Champ Kelly and keep him because he knows how important he is, and fuck him. Sorry to say, I have to use that term because there's no other way to say it.
There goes
He
our
will.
sponsorship.
He will. And it's, I'm sorry to say, but it depends upon if they said you've done such a good job that we know that you deserve this, and he gives them the opportunity. That is a question I can't answer. But if he wants to do what's best for the Raiders, he's going to keep Champ Kelly with Telesco, unless, and here's the unless, he gets an earful from a certain prima donna ex-quarterback that says, "Oh, I can take care of that." And that's the other. Again, I don't know these things, but I can make very logical, intuitive, informative guesses.
I wonder.
Oh, Robert, I do know what the hell I'm talking about, by the way. I just wanted to make sure I dropped that. I've been waiting 7 months.
Yeah, Robert.
But anyway, and thank you for allowing me. But yeah, these are things that I do know. But I don't know everything, but I do know some things.
So with that in mind, I actually think the Raiders will be one of the most interesting teams this offseason. I mean that, like, no, but last year you guys just had some drama, but it was, but you have far more moving parts, in my opinion, this offseason. And I also think, and I still believe this, by the way, that this year's draft, in terms of what you do, will be franchise defining.
I agree.
Because you're either going to set your team up with the right guys to bolster your roster, to prepare yourself to then trade away a lot of draft capital for a quarterback in the 2027 or 6 draft. Sorry. And what I mean by that, you're going to bolster your D-line, bolster your O-line, maybe get a running back and a couple other positions. In the offseason, you'll bolster like wide receiver and some other positions to kind of like fill out the roster. And I think this offseason will really determine the trajectory of your team long term. If you make mistakes like you have in some cases in the past, or like my Broncos have done in the past, trust me, I can speak from real life experience. You're screwed.
Yeah,
like, and I mean,
no, I got it.
Like
I got it.
Screwed. Yeah, yeah. And so
And
I think the Raiders can be interesting.
And by the way, no matter what, because I've done this for 50, going on 53 years, as a fan that has gone from the heights to the lows, okay, I'm always going to be loud, proud, that MFer that's supporting my team. I will never quit on my team. I get disheartened with them, but I don't ever give up because I'm loyal like that. I always will be loyal like that. So you won't see it. There are people, and I won't drop names, but there are people that have turned on this team for their own reasons, but that's not going to be me. I will go to the grave as Captain Jack the Raider Pirate.
Yeah, but
we'll
Captain,
see.
can you blame some of your fans for turning on the team? Okay, you're from the Silver Age, right? Like you're from like the age when the Raiders were the Raiders, like
Yeah.
the Autumn Wind and all that stuff. But some of these fans that say 30s, right, in their 30s, they've seen
They don't know what I know, and right. I agree with you, D said, is the fact
that
a
Super Bowl though.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
They saw a Super Bowl and they saw a loss from the only team that would have beat them, because I tell you, the Raiders play the Eagles, the Raiders win. I'm serious on that. The Raiders play the Eagles, the Raiders win hands down. The Bucks play the Titans. It's a different Super Bowl as well. That was the only team that matched up, because you had Gruden, who knew more about the opposition, with Kiffin there to help them out. That was a slaughter because of the way it was. And it was the last Super Bowl. And check this, gentlemen, again, things that I know. The last Super Bowl that was played 1 week after the conference championships. There's always been 2 weeks since. Okay, look it up. And it's just the way it was. And it was a slaughter, and it was embarrassing. But things need to go beyond that. And like I said, I'll go to the grave. But yeah, and back to your point, DZ, when you don't know about the things and all you've seen is continual losing for the most part, aside from a couple hiccups where you go to the playoffs and you lose to the Texans, and you go to the playoffs and you get effed by an official on a whistle in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati ends up going to the Super. Yes, like I said, it really effing exists. Whistles that screw over games, Gibbons. But I digress. So when you see that, and that's all it's easy. It's easy as a youngster, and I think that other than Richie Riche, I'm here with youngsters, and Givens is at least somewhat, an adult, and I don't take offense to that, Rob or DZ, but as far as age here, okay, when you are of that mentality in that age group, you're like, screw this, I'm going to go root for somebody else, because the loyalty and the bonds and the winning hasn't come into you. So I get what you're saying, DC. I do. I get what you're saying.
I'll be 41 this week.
I was going to say, I definitely think DZ's older than me, but
I'll be 41 this month. But
but still, it's still young though. It's still young.
Sure, I don't feel young, but
I'm
sure.
31.
DC's like, thanks.
Yeah. But
Wait,
I say
32.
this kind of like with how you're saying some fans are kind of like, teetering. And I was thinking about this when the Chargers moved to LA, because like there was 30 seconds where I was like, do I even still support this team, as being a longtime San Diego fan, right? I was born and raised in San Diego. And I thought about it for like 30 seconds, but I live on the East Coast now, and I was like, I'm over it, whatever. Like they just moved up the road. But a lot of fans jumped off, and now
They bailed.
And now they're anti-Chargers because they hate Spanos, because he moved them out of San Diego. And you can say whatever you want to make yourself feel better, right? But the Chargers, while they've been in LA, have been teetering, because it's like, look, man, LA's a big market. They don't want losers there. Like it's a winning city, or kind of has that, that quote unquote feeling, right? You've got Kobe and the Dodgers, Hollywood, the whole nine, and they're second fiddle, fourth, fifth fiddle in some terms and how in teams rankings. So it's like
Yeah.
I think the Spanos saw the writing on the wall and they're like shoot, like we got to do something. And I think when they brought in Harbaugh, then they built the new facility, the Bolt, which is amazing, and they're like, we got to start winning. We're gonna be winning, or we're gonna have to get out of here. We're gonna have to bail in LA, but which I don't think can happen anymore. But
it's so funny you say that, DZ, because that was my exact mentality. Like after we fired Staley, I was very like, what is this team gonna do now? Because whatever we do now is very it's gonna dictate how I feel about this team.
And real quick, you just made me think of something. I lied. I 100% lied. I thought about leaving. Alex knows this. I thought about leaving the Chargers twice in my life. In 41, I've been a fan. I count since I was 7 years old, since I could really understand the game of football.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say from birth because that's BS.
No, yeah.
Unless you're Jim Harbaugh, who remembers his birth.
Hey.
But after the Staley and Telesco thing, I think I said to many people, I'm like, dude, if they do not fire Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley,
I'm done.
I'm not rooting for. I'm done with this team.
Yep.
And sure as shit. Oops, sorry. They fired both.
It's not just me.
They fired both of them, and it reignited my fandom for this team.
Yep.
Because it was wearing
100%.
thin. It was wearing thin. Like
Dude,
it was getting it was getting mundane. I watched how they treated Rivers, like how he just went off to go play for the Colts and stuff.
Yeah.
And like some of this stuff, and I'm just like, come on, man. And this, what they've done with this Harbaugh and who Harbaugh brought in and stuff. And yes, I know it's only 1 year, but I'm telling you, it's got me going. It makes me feel like a 20-year-old again.
Yeah, that's been one heck of a turnaround.
I mean, you look at how last year was to this year.
5 wins to 11.
And I mean, it's not like it's not like you spent $50 million in free agency and made all these aggressive moves. Like you just got the right guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have spent the third most on defense.
Those pay cuts that Bosa and Mac took helped a lot.
Yep, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and the future looks good, and the future looks good in this division.
Yeah,
and then now
it's gonna be crazy.
How you feel like saying in Jack's shoes, right? Like you could half glass full or half glass empty for them, because there's two ways that organization go, and I got a feeling, even though how he feels about Brady, I think Brady's gonna really help out that team and with his input, and it's gonna be crazy.
And I'm here. That's directed at me. I'm sorry. That's directed.
I know.
Yeah. But
so,
New year.
I'm excited for the AFC West to get going again, because the AFC West back in the day was a damn good division, and
they're always a juggernaut.
Yeah, and it's time for earmuffs, Alex. It's time for one of these teams to take down the Chiefs, man. Like they got to dethrone the Chiefs, because it's getting old. Like someone's got to do it.
I truly think, and I'll just say this very quickly so we can move on. I truly think once that happens, like one of these other teams, Broncos, Raiders, or Chargers, finally wins a division, that's when like the NFL will be like, okay, the Chiefs are like not vulnerable, but like they can be beat. I feel like this aura the Chiefs have right now of like nobody can beat them. They're on pace for a 3-peat. Like I feel like once that dragon is slain, I know it's a small one, it's just a division title, but considering the Chiefs have owned this division for the better part of the last decade, I feel like one of us needs to take them down and just knock them off the damn high horse for once.
Yeah.
Well, if the officials would freaking cooperate with 11 on 21, it's real, you bastard! I kept it at bastard.
So the best news I heard is Spags.
I do know my dad
interviewing for a head coaching job.
Yes.
I pray to God.
Yeah, he's interviewed, I think, Jets and Raiders.
Oh,
go to the Jets, please.
And Jets interviewed their assistant GM as well. So I mean, it'll be
Spags going to the Raiders. First, I'm hearing about this.
He interviewed with them,
or they requested to interview him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Again, I've in my own little world in Florida where it's warm. Sorry. And there's no fire. And again, blessings to all those that have to go through that. I don't say that facetiously, blessings to those that don't have to go through a fire and snow. And but again, it is going to drop down to below freezing in Florida today, which is
iguanas are going to be dropping from the trees.
Yeah, well, I don't live down in Miami, but the ice gets over. But again, I don't know what the hell I was saying. Sorry, but yeah, to all the points, I agree. The smug's got to go, and that's for sure. Hopefully, it'll happen. But I will say this: if it doesn't happen the first round that they play in, which is round 2. It's not going to happen. The Smugs are going to the Super Bowl. You got to get them. You got to get them that first game, because if they go beyond that, the officials will make sure that they go all the way through. And it's unfortunate.
I'm not even going to go to the official thing there. I just think that at that point there, the Chiefs will then be in both a rhythm, and they will have pulled the right things together as a team, where I think that's just kind of like good luck stopping the speeding train with, a person on the tracks sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just think that it's going to be kind of one of those things. With that in mind, Alex, I don't think we need to spend a whole ton of time on the Chiefs Broncos game, because I think it was kind of, in some regards, self-explanatory once you kind of found out what was happening. Yes, Ed, there are some text messages with, we'll call it, similar language in it. But
I didn't say it. I just did this.
Yeah. So yes, you can have those discussions all throughout the chat, and we will make sure that Jack has those appropriately relayed to him in terms of your thoughts on it. But with regards to the Chiefs Broncos game, I think once the Chiefs effectively announced that an additional 4 to 5 guys were not going to play in the game at all. I even posted on X. I said, yep, this is not the game that I predicted on the Wild Wild West. This is a different can of worms, because I truly did think that the Chiefs wanted to keep the game competitive to potentially knock the Broncos out. Honestly, honest to goodness, I thought that was a thing. And I thought that the Chiefs would want to have your guys play to keep kind of, you have a huge gap between game A and B, and you want to try to win.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks, 2 full weeks.
Yeah, and so that's a long time to rest a lot of guys, and I thought that you guys were going to want to keep guys just in that rhythm, in that, there's such a body callus that you get from playing football and contact sports, that if you stop playing it even for a short period of time, that you do run a legitimate risk of getting guys hurt.
You also run a risk of getting them hurt playing them, and then not having them for the playoffs.
You're not going to play the guys that definitely need rest, because you have to give them rest. But for the guys that are the younger guys. Yeah. And again, that's why I asked the guy that was on when I'm rolling around on my scooter, and I see this guy, I see Bailey, and I know who that is, and I'm going up behind him. I said, "Hey, champ, how'd you guys do today?" He said, "We kicked ass." And I didn't catch the score, but I heard the 0, and I didn't hear what the score was, but I heard we kicked ass, and I'm whizzing by him. I didn't hear the first. I'm like, you got to be kidding that it was that bad. I understand resting players, like you said, the guys that are injured or on the verge of injury, that really need the rest. I get it. Okay, they can afford the 2 weeks because it's better for them healthy wise. But when you get out of your aura, or you're getting out of your routine, and you're not injured, and you need to have the not the pounding but the contact, that'll be something that will have to be looked at.
I agree, and I think the other thing to keep in mind, and Alex, you probably agree with this for sure, knowing that who you saw play and how they played versus more competent starters and stuff. This goes to show that despite the fact that it's not like every single person that played is certainly an NFL caliber player, okay, no question, but this does prove that there's a substantial difference between the first string and the second and third string players on every single NFL roster, including the two-time Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs. Right? Like this is a thing, okay? Like it just is. And so for everyone that keeps on saying, "Oh, we'll just go next man up." It's like, no. I don't think you quite fully understand this. It is not that easy. It is not that simple. There's a reason why they weren't the first man to begin with. So just stop it. Right? Like just stop it.
I know. I always hear people talk about that next man up mentality, and I get it. Like you have to have that mentality in the locker room because you just have to give the guys the confidence. But these dudes have to know. Like, I mean, there's a reason I'm not starting.
Especially in some teams,
unless they just know that they're like in position to be starting.
Some teams design their teams with developmental players, right? Like. Back in the day, wasn't it like Green Bay, right? Like they build through the draft only. So like next man up for them are dudes that are like a couple seasons away from starting.
Correct.
You know what I mean? There's like not that many vets on their teams and things like that. But yeah, I didn't really watch your guys' game because once I saw the starters out, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to watch this complete shellacking.
The hell is that? I got to ask.
I don't know who
is that Richie? I mean, or Alex?
That's not me, man.
That was not me.
Richie.
Richie.
Well, out of 5 of us, one of us is muted.
It's Richie's
the evidence speaks for itself. Yeah,
I just noticed
He's
that.
like, give it up.
Yeah, looking at that, smug smile. He's got a Kansas City smug smile on. It's him.
Hey.
That was those are the 2 young puppies upstairs that are clearly not behaving particularly well, unfortunately.
See, that was my dog earlier. He was picking his bones up off of it's a kindling container, and it makes the loudest noise. I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. Now I guess it's a free for all,
baby.
So anyways, there's not a whole ton really to speak of in the game. There was a reasonable number of starters for the Chiefs, but certainly not the ones that are the true difference makers, in my opinion, for the Chiefs.
Supporting cast.
It was the additional folks, like the guys that were kind of like the
background dancers,
the background, the background guys, the fillers, and that sort of thing. Like the main cast, like the Karlaftis, the Jones, McDuffie, except like all of those guys were resting. Pacheco was resting too. So you were dealing with a completely different Kansas City Chiefs team. I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, do you see the score?" Like that's just dumb.
Hey, Mundungus gave me a ration of crap yesterday about how awesome the Broncos were. And I'm like, okay, dude,
JV squad.
like
Sycamore.
Like let's put it this way. I will only say this, and this is, and I truly mean this, and I will back this 100%. The Broncos did exactly what they should have done against the players that they were playing against.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys got 30 points.
We did exactly what a team that is good should always embarrass a team that is bad, and that's not a knock on the Chiefs. It's just your players were obviously not the starters, so it wasn't like the real Kansas City Chiefs per se. So a better team should always outclass. No, but like a better team should always outclass. Should always outclass a worse team.
Is when we played the Patriots, is like how we took care of the Patriots. I was like, that was like exactly how you need to handle those teams. Like,
yes,
no close games, no letting teams get into it or anything like that.
No 3-point games in the fourth quarter to teams that are 9 wins less than you, and
like
previous
if the teams
Charger
that are
regimes would have
destroyed them.
Well, I was to say previous Chargers regimes and previous Chargers coaches lose that game to the Patriots. They think like we lost that game to the Texans that one year. What was it, like 44 points? We gave up like 143 to Rex Burkhead on the ground.
I will have PTSD for the rest of my life for what these Chargers have done to me. So
God, man,
I'm just accepting it. I'll be on heavily medicated in my 50s from these guys.
So that's just where I'm at with the Broncos Chiefs game. I think, Alex, you're probably in a similar headspace to that, which was, what did you expect when those players were not playing? Obviously, it makes a better NFL playoff picture for the Chiefs to have a healthy roster coming into their first round bye or after their first round bye. So you probably have to be pretty excited about that. And hopefully you're getting some good news through kind of the Chiefs, announcements and stuff that, guys are getting better or healthier or whatever the case may be. I mean, the NFL is the NFL, so they're never going to be 100% coming into any game. I don't care how many days they're sitting out, but you hope that they recover enough to get back to in-game shape to be truly competitive and back to as close to 100% as is humanly possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of, like, as I alluded to, I figured like most of the starters would not play the full game. It just was they were definitely a little more aggressive on some not playing at all. So, I mean, I watched the game, but I didn't watch the game like I normally do. Sit there.
Watched it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was gaming while it was going on. Just oh, they scored again. What do you know? I would have hoped to see a little more, out of Carson Wentz, and what I kind of said was his tryout to maybe get another shot.
That's what I did want to bring up.
And it was just awful. I mean, he didn't even have 100 yards throwing. No turnovers.
Bad, man.
There were no turnovers, but yeah, it was just awful. And like you said, Richie, that game just gave you affirmation of just how good, Mahomes is with Reed, because Reed's still making the calls, but without Mahomes, it certainly doesn't look the same. And just how good, Spags is with the guys that he does that are the starters on defense. So, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. And it went about as expected for who was playing. And, I guess it was kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you win, Bengals are in. If you lose, Broncos are in. It's, I didn't think there was really any consideration of the two. It was hey, we just played 3 games in 11 days. Chris Jones is banged up. Pacheco's banged up. Our left tackle's banged up. Why don't we, and it doesn't matter if we win or lose where we're seated. Why don't we just, relax? And I know we talked about it during the game or right after, you had mentioned, has it sat this many people before? And I kind of went back and looked, and, there's been 5 instances since Reed's been hired where the Chiefs were in this situation where the last game of the season didn't matter in terms of where they were at in the playoffs. And in every one of those instances, he has for sure sat Travis Kelce. He's for sure sat Chris Jones outside of the time they let him play to get his sack incentive. And he's for sure sat the starting QB. So, it wasn't really anything, I think, out of the norm. And, I mean, we know what's happened in some of those instances. So, I don't have any reservations of resting guys that they're going to come out flat or, fall flat on their face in round 2. Frankly, just because in the history of Reed being at the helm, that has not happened. I guess with Mahomes, because I'm pretty sure he rested the starters one year with Alex Smith. Actually, he did, because that was the game we got to get a glimpse that, Mahomes is good. Well, it was against the Broncos, actually. It was Mahomes in the second team.
It was against the Broncos, and the Broncos got rocked, and then you guys got shellacked in the playoffs.
Yeah, but then you were like, damn, I think that guy is good.
Yeah.
It was
20, I think that must have been a very conflicting time for you, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, that dude just slaughtered the Broncos, and he had no business doing that. And then you're probably all excited, and you go into the first round of the playoffs, and I think you guys just got absolutely just destroyed. In that,
I think the term is mollywopped.
Yes, yeah, and then Mahomes was your starter the next year, and then that was basically the start of.
I'm looking, but I'm pretty sure they made the. I'm pretty sure they made it decently far
with Smith.
Yeah, I think they made it
last year
the
with
AFC
Smith?
Championship game. I'm trying to find it. Maybe it's 28.
I don't think you made it to the AFC Championship game with Alex Smith.
Maybe it's the divisional round.
It would have been 2017. It would have been 2017.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay. I was gonna say the funniest part to me about your Broncos game was I think the point total. The point total was set to 40.5, and the Broncos had 38 themselves, and we still didn't get over the total point.
Yeah.
They did not. They
Yes.
did not get shellacked. It was 22-21, and that's the game that Mariota completed a touchdown pass to himself.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
no,
that game.
God.
I just remembered it was not as bad as but it's
No,
Mahomes.
they were
playoffs were
talking
always
about a
bad.
stomp. I wasn't talking about the game. I was talking about the correct wording.
Yeah.
Mollywop. Mollywop is the friggin' word you need, man. If it wasn't a thought, Alex,
for some reason I thought you
none on you, brother. None on you about, whether 22-20, that's fine. But no, I was going for some. Hey, I'm trying to teach people crap. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm the old man. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Alex, have
moving
you
on
heard
to
the
the-
narrative? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
So I was going to say we should probably move on to the playoff game so we can kind of make sure we cover everything so that all of the
I got to
folks
go
here
anyway,
can
so yeah,
do
let's
that.
do it.
Yeah.
Got to bring
regards to
text
playoffs,
back to
let's cover off Alex's first round of the playoffs. Okay, now that we're done that, we'll go
Here
ahead
it
and
is. Here's
move
a
on.
preview.
Yeah. Now that we're done that, we'll move on and discuss what I think is going to be an interesting game, just because I think you match up in an interesting way between you and the Texans. The Chargers-Texans game. Thoughts on that? What you think your biggest challenges are going to be? And then also, I think it'll be a very interesting question as to what version of the Texans are you going to see?
I don't know, damn, but as long as you don't wear those damn red uniforms. Oh my God, the red uniforms are rancid. Rancid. If we don't wear the red uniforms, we're okay.
I don't even like that H. Their Old English H, I think, looks stupid too. But that's just me.
Well, no, that's actually cool. That's actually cool.
Like those unis.
The H is cool, and it's a testament to the Houston Oilers and what we brought, what we brought. Because remember, Ole is king. Ole is king. Remember that. But as long as we don't wear the red here, but I do like the H. And remember, I'm talking like this because this is how you would pronounce things down there in Houston.
You gotta have that southern draw for Houston.
Been watching Landman. Don't lie.
I have not watched that show. I want to. What channel is it on?
Paramount Plus.
Paramount P.
Oh, okay. Well, I can actually watch that. The only reason why I watched the game with the Raiders and the Chiefs at one time is because, or whichever game it was that was on the Netflix, is because my son came over and he had Netflix, so I can actually watch Netflix while he's still paying the bills because I don't have that. That's one of those things I don't have. But Paramount Plus,
one of those jailbroken fire sticks.
I got a fire stick. I got a fire stick.
Jailbroken one?
No, it's a legit one.
He's military security, so yeah, I don't think he wants to have or he was or is, I don't know.
I am not anymore, DZ, but thank you for asking. I actually when I do work, yeah, when I do work, get ready for this shit. I work in Fort Leavenworth, which is out there where those friggin' Kansas City Chiefs are, and it's horrible. It's horrible working at Fort Leavenworth. The worst thing about going to work in Fort Leavenworth is going through KCI and seeing all that crap Mahomes and Kelsey crap over at the airport. I'm just saying.
He sees red, literally, figuratively.
And then you got to go to Kansas, which is just torture.
Oh, that is. They roll up the sidewalks at 8:30.
But yeah, going back to the game.
Going back to the game. Hey, thank you for catching me there, Robert. F you as well. But the game. Now I'm going to say this because I'm going to let you guys gloat on your one and done. But if the Texans can play up the standards, and this is the big if. If the Texans can play up the standards It's going to be a damn good game. It's going to be a better game than the Broncos going to freeze their choo-choos off over in Buffalo. But I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Texans can win, but I don't know if they will win because the Garglers or whatever you call that San Angeles thing coming in with the 3 straight win, and they've been playing well. The momentum is real good for them. Remember, it's momentum that the Garglers have all of these games, and it's going to be a good one. I'm actually going to watch it, then I'm going to get drunk either way.
Like that.
How's that?
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Yeah, it's gonna be a close game. I feel like I do feel like the Chargers will win this game. I feel like you said, Captain, they're coming in with more momentum. They're playing at a higher level than the Texans are right now. The Texans are kind of backwards pedaling into the playoffs, kind of just won that division by default because it's so bad.
Better than them Steelers are. They suck.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Steelers peaked very early, and they're also another team that's sort of limping into the playoffs. I mean, I expect to see them be one and done as well. But yeah, I mean, this game's going to come down to, again, obviously possessions. Who's going to steal one? Who's going to be able to control the clock and run the ball? Both these teams are going to play very similarly through the run game. Let their defenses kind of control the pace of the game and how they're going to dictate it. But a fumble here, an interception there. This is one thing. The Texans defense does scare me. They do have those 2 elite pass rushers, but the Chargers, and Singletary, but the Chargers are built for it. They have those 2 elite tackles. So, they are made to, this is why you draft all, because when the team has 2 premier edge rushers like this, you're prepared for it and you have the personnel to handle it. So we've seen this O-line as a unit play really well these last couple of weeks. Again, I know the level of competition has not been that great, but it's just good to have those good games consecutively for a team, for a confidence for that unit, especially with how much they struggled early on. That interior O-line struggled very badly early on. So if they can get it together, that is going to be a huge plus. It's going to be a battle in the trenches, and that's going to dictate this game, through the run game, through the protection schemes, and obviously, if Herbert continues to play the way he's been playing these last few weeks, I truly don't think the Texans will just be able to do enough. I feel like Herbert has just been on another level these last few weeks. Some of these throws he's making, the way he's been able to run this offense, not turning the ball over, not even really putting it in harm's way that much. That is big for this. So.
What's their cornerback's name?
We'll see though.
Derek Stingley.
Stingley.
No, the other one, their rookie. They got a rookie cornerback who's like best friends with Ladd, and he's gonna be covering Ladd.
Yeah,
God, what's his Kason? No.
Yeah.
Is it Kason?
No, hold on.
Yeah, from Georgia.
Yeah, so I guess him and Ladd.
Yeah, wait, is it Lassiter? Are you talking about Kamari Lassiter?
Could be Kamari Lassiter.
Yeah, it might be. Who knows?
Yeah. But they were good friends. They trained together, like in the middle of Florida somewhere for like 3 months. He had nothing but good things to say about Ladd. Kid, that real blue collar kid, came up from really nothing, and he is where he's at because of hard work. Not from God-given ability. But one thing I'm looking into this game about is how our edges do, because their O-line, that's their weak spot, right?
Yeah.
But
that's why Stroud had that sophomore slump.
Game hasn't been great lately, so it's like it's this kind of like this balancing act right now. So it's like if these guys could have a game over, but Stroud, he's really good. He'll stick in that pocket and he'll find Nico or Schultz. Yeah. And Nico is like, he's one of those alphas, like, I don't want to call him like unguardable, but he gets open.
He's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's extremely good. And so I think their offense, that's who it's going to run through. It's going to Nico and Schultz, and then obviously Mixon and Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce is, a really good number 2 guy. For
there you go, go get those Gators out there that gonna play for you. That's why I say it's gonna be. You damn right. I'm gonna do that shit.
Who else is
But,
Mechie as well?
Who?
Oh,
They have
John.
another
Yeah.
Mechie is the other
John
guy they
Mechie.
got.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs are both hurt. That was
Yeah.
also what I was saying earlier about them limping in. I didn't mean to say that as like they're just. I mean, they were playing kind of bad going in, but they are injured as to all hell.
I'll tell you this, man. I'd love to smack Rex Ryan across the face.
Oh my god, dude! Why is he saying that it's like a buy for us?
He gave
Shut
them
up.
so much bulletin board material.
Shut the fuck up.
Like this is a buy game for the Chargers. I'm like, you effing idiot, man.
A lot of the media is giving the Chargers like, oh, this is going to be an easy week. Like,
none of us fans
I
feel
love
that
it,
way.
dude.
No, none of the fans
love
feel
it.
like that at all, dude. All the fans are like, this is.
I'm here for
far
it. Meanwhile,
far from
they
a
all
sure
say
thing.
the Chiefs are going to get outed quick, so give them the, it's.
I mean,
but,
if all the other if, and it's a big if, the Chargers do win this game and the other two games go like they're supposed to and the favorites win, it is Chiefs Chargers in the divisional.
Yeah,
I mean, it's lowest seed. So
let's get past the wild card round first, Robert.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot that needs to happen.
But yeah, I think that the Chargers do win this game, and I think the biggest component to the Texans being able to win is if they can get kind of early season Joe Mixon back. I mean, because they were 6-1, 6-2, and he was like rushing for 100 yards in every game, and then that's tapered off, and you've seen how they've looked, in those games. So, I think that's the biggest component. If they can run the ball, which the Chargers have been pretty bad at times with, if they can do that, it might be a tough game for the Chargers. But if it's the Texans of these past few weeks, I think it is, I don't want to say easy Chargers win, but a Chargers win.
I also think you have Derwin James. Who can
he needs to play in the box.
So the other thing that you guys have is you have I will go as far as saying an elite run blocking safety or an elite safety that can play in the box. And what that kind of does for you is it bolsters what would only be your linebacking core and kind of adds another linebacker in that area of the field, which if Mixon starts to maybe get a few chunk yards here and there, you can simply rejig your backfield a little bit by cheating Derwin James up into the box and playing more of that hybrid linebacker role, which would in turn make the Texans a little bit more one-dimensional and being forced to only pass. And I do believe they actually may even have injuries and or a banged up offensive line, Alex, which is part of why I think their run game has suffered as a result. They are obviously a banged up team, as you alluded to earlier, Robert, and I agree with that for sure. But when your offensive line, the guys might not be out, but if they're really badly hurt, they're not going to be able to move another grown man off the ball to get the run game going particularly well. So I think that's probably a bit of a factor in that as well. And for that, I just think that the Chargers have more. I think you're more flexible in what you can do in order to make the adjustments to work in your favor, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor and ultimately win you guys the game.
I also think that this will be – sorry, DZ. My last thought on it, but this will be a true testament to if Harbaugh's the right guy because we all know what happened the last time Herbert was in the playoffs, and so this will kind of be the final stamp of like, boom, you guys
Harbaugh's
got your
changed,
Yeah, but is that fair year one? I mean,
that I was gonna say that, DZ, but I think given I'll completely agree with this. If you would have said at the beginning of the year that the Chargers are gonna win a playoff game in Harbaugh's first year, you'd be like, oh, that's a success. Like nobody would have expected that with the state of the team and everything like that.
Where things were heading.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So I completely agree with that, but I also do think.
On top of getting rid of big guys.
Yeah, given all the context and where the team is now and how the team is performing now, I think I don't want to say you have to expect it, but the team is playing at that kind of level where it's not going to be like a shocker. It like this is what people expected Harbaugh to do. He expected this franchise and this culture to get reset and completely turned around, and it did. But I mean, look at what he did with the Niners. He took them to the NFC Championship game his first year with them.
Yeah.
So it's like
when they were
not
3-13.
yeah, they had like 5 wins
Uh,
or something the year before. So it's like, it wouldn't be out of Harbaugh's realm. Like for the Chargers away from Harbaugh, yeah, we don't expect a playoff win, but Harbaugh and what he demands and the excellence that he demands from his teams, he's expecting to go further than just, this appearance. He's expecting a win or two.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there, Robert, only because I've been on this damn YouTube for about 3.5 hours now, and even I can't do an accent for 3.5 hours. I can, but it's hurtful. But I'm just going to say that if Dameon Pierce and my boy Joe Mixon, if they can have a good running game, then I really think that the Texans will pull it out. And I know that the Texans would love to go and get wrong finger. They'll get them bastards again after the bad taste that was left in the mouth playing the Chiefs last year. But I'm going to say it's going to be a tie game. It's going to be a good game. Mm-hmm. And I want to say I've appreciated y'all letting my boy that Captain Jack guy on and my Houston Tex in here. I say blessings to all y'all in the new year. I've had a ball, and I got to go because I'm friggin' hungry. And there's only so much of the Southern accent I can do. So for my buddy Captain Jack, who's over there somewhere, I'm gonna say do out. But this is gonna be a game to watch. Y'all take care. And I appreciate you letting me on here, and we'll see y'all another time where I can do some accents. Y'all take care and bless your heart, as they say down here in the South.
By God.
Go get some of that oil.
So piggyback off of what he said, what Captain said, is what I was trying to say earlier, is the teams that the Chargers have struggled against this season have been teams that have been able to bully them through the run game.
Thank you.
Arizona, Tampa Bay, Baltimore. I would say I don't know if the Chiefs bullied them run wise, because that was Hunt and then Pacheco a little bit. It wasn't really bullying, but he did have some good runs.
More so the first game than the second game.
So that's what I'm like. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about the Texans. Now, I did hear some of you guys say they have banged up O-line. And Mixon's play has declined probably due to their banged up O-line, and he's also an aging vet, right? So some of that tread's coming off. But if they can bully us in the run game, I'm concerned, because then they've got a lethal pass attack still. I don't want to say lethal, but they have a really good one with Nico and Schultz and Mechie. So that's giving me some concern. But if that run game doesn't come to fruition, which I'm hoping it doesn't, and our D line or our front seven,
which it hasn't,
can stymie that, then I like our chances, because like our secondary's been sometimes can be jumbled up, right? We got guys coming in and out, but how that defense at too high. One thing that Stroud struggles against is that too high shell, and that's what Minter runs. And then you have that. You've got that added aspect of Derwin coming down in the box, not knowing if he's going to drop in coverage or he's coming up, for run support.
Gilman got activated from IR.
So, yeah. And look, I'm super stoked he's come back, but even our last game showed some of his rust, but I'm really happy because he's a starting guy, right, for us.
Especially since Molden's out now too.
Right. Molden, that's a big hurt for us. Molden was my favorite safety we had, our free safety, I would say.
DZ, your other comment, sorry, on that stuff there, the other thing you're correct about is just on Minter in particular. The one thing Minter did very well against Bo Nix, and I see CJ Stroud and Bo Nix on, like, Bo Nix came out and kind of lit the NFL on fire a little bit because he basically well outperformed his draft, like where he was drafted.
Sure,
like, exactly, like, you know what I mean? Like way outperformed it. And I can certainly appreciate and agree with that. Winning 10 games in your rookie season, breaking a few rookie records and whatnot is no joke. That's pretty stellar for a franchise that struggled to actually draft ever, actually in franchise history, a quarterback for the Denver Broncos. We've always ended up acquiring them. Even
Right.
John Elway was an acquisition
Yep.
through a post-draft trade. So when you look at that, I'm looking at when I saw Minter against Bo Nix, and I think Stroud will likely struggle with the same things just because of what we've seen from him this season. Is he has some very good and very creative ways in which he hides who's dropping in coverage and who's not. And I'm not sure that Stroud has showed enough this year that he has progressed in that regard in the games that I've seen the Texans play. And I think that's an under the radar take and something that I think we should be paying attention to. But look for your team to potentially either pick Stroud off in the game, which would be a Minter disguise kind of, coverage kind of thing, or look for you guys to potentially knock them 3 and out a bunch of times due to disguise looks. Both, I think, would be on Minter and basically exposing Stroud in some regards.
I agree. And the thing about Minter's defense is pretty much most of the snaps, it looks the same. And then it's the post snap where everything changes, the disguises, which, especially for a young QB, throws them fits. Now, the downside for Houston is Stroud's not known for being a mobile QB. Like this, if he was a mobile QB or he wanted to run, this is the type of game where like you want your QB to run, especially with the too high. Then we'd have to bring guys down, kind of thing that leaves the pass back open, especially with a guy like Nico or whoever, whatever. So it's going to be an interesting chess match, back and forth. Another kind of like a weird factor about this game is the Chargers practicing. They're limiting their air time due to the poor quality from the fires. So it's kind of like a hiccup in the practice. I know that can be kind of a little weird, but and it's also in Houston, so you are on the road. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Definitely, probably. I'm not going to say the better game because you never know what's going to happen in Buffalo, man. With you Broncos,
I do think it's funny that the Texans have made the playoffs 8 times in their franchise, and all 8 times they've been the first game on Saturday for wild card
right?
weekend.
Isn't that kind of like a smack in the face? Like,
I mean, take it how you will. You can either take it as you guys are going to start
farther, dude. Come
yeah,
on.
you guys are going to start off the playoffs, early, and you guys are going to get this show on the roll. We know you guys are going to have a good matchup, or you could take it as, and we just want to get your game out of the way.
I do like the fact that everybody is pretty much like whatever your slot is, all eyes are on that slot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's the playoffs, man.
Yep.
That's the way it's
All
got to
eyes.
be.
Boom.
Every game is a primetime game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I'll quickly, just so we can move on to the Broncos, I'll give my score prediction for this one. I do think the Chargers pull away with it. I do think Herbert gets his first playoff win. It's going to be a nip and tuck game. I am going to say it's going to be like 27-20. I think eventually Herbert and the offense are able to pull away kind of late. And Stroud fights it back and makes it close. But this is going to be a very close and tough fought game. But I am excited for it. So yeah, 27-20.
That's a good score. I don't think I have a score prediction.
I do. I'll just quickly blurt it real quick, and I have nothing else to really add. I think it's going to be 24-17 Chargers. I think that I'll just add one quick color commentary. Your team has traditionally, this season in particular, had extremely successful defense overall in keeping opponents down in low scores. And so I think that that's an important piece, which is, at some point you're going to break that. I'm sorry. It's a fact.
Right.
It's going to happen at some
course.
point. So just call a duck a duck. The thing is, I don't think the Texans, while they are certainly in the playoffs and they need credit where credit's due in that regard, I do not think that they're the team that will do it for you. I don't think they're the team that will break that streak or that thing. So I have this as a lower scoring for the Texans. And then as a result, I actually think you guys are going to be in that kind of like mid-20s, which means it's going to be a bit more separation in score than what you predicted, Robert. But I think I have some reasonable justification for it.
I have a hot take for just both sides of the ball. Offense, Ezekiel Elliott scores a touchdown for us. It will be within the 5-yard line, something
Oh,
on the
yeah.
goal line area.
70-yard run.
No, not
Dude,
First play of the game.
if Zeke
Prime
pulls-
Zeke, baby. It's just because
if
Jerry
Zeke-
wasn't playing him. I'm
No
not paying.
No bullshit. If Zeke pulls off a 70-yard touchdown run, I will buy a Zeke Chargers jersey just for that.
And then I have a hot take that Tarheeb still gets a pick 6.
Ooh, I love that.
Those are just hot takes. All right,
If
no
those
scores.
both those things
Yeah.
happen, I really love our chances in this game.
I'm pretty in line with Richie's score prediction. That was exactly
Yeah.
the same numbers I was going to throw out before he did. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like the Chargers defense has been pretty good at kind of capping the games, and I do think they win. So
Yeah.
All right.
see what happens
So
Saturday.
with that in mind, I have some interesting takes actually for my Broncos Bills.
I do too.
I think that despite what the national media and everyone else is saying, as I'm looking at matching like to like on the different teams, I actually think that my Broncos match up pretty well against the Bills when you actually look at things. You don't hear me saying positive things like this all that often about the Broncos, to be quite blunt. So I'm going to kind of quickly go through kind of positional groups and kind of give you kind of where I'm at is I think our defensive line matches up really well against their offensive line. And I think that we have been able to traditionally, this season in particular, get pressure and sacks on the quarterback. And I think that is going to make Josh Allen relatively uncomfortable in this game. And I think that will force throws and force plays to go ways that they have not gone for the Bills this season. Also, keep in mind that in their division, in the Bills division, that is, Miami has not been particularly great. They've been okay, but not great. And then they played the Jets, which have not had a particular, and the Patriots, which are like two of the kind of bottom teams in the NFL.
Yep.
Right. So, it's not like they're dealing with the AFC West division where you have,
3 playoff teams.
3 playoff teams, right? Like, hi guys, how are we doing? Like, we're all in the playoffs, and it's like, it's not a very common thing to have 3 teams in your division in the playoffs, but that does go to show the quality of the division within the AFC West, and then the fact that there's you only have the Bills in the playoffs from the East there. I think that kind of does show that they're no longer in a particularly strong division, and the Bills basically just slaughtered everyone in that division like hardcore. Yeah. So, I'm looking at the defensive line versus the offensive line, and I don't think that is. I think that's favoring the Broncos in terms of defensive line, just from what I've seen. We're also getting some guys back from injury, which I think is going to further bolster that. Guys are kind of starting to get a little bit healthy after last game, which I think is also going to bode well for us in the game. Then I kind of go to the linebacking core, and I'm kind of generally compare linebackers and match it against the potential running quarterback as well as run stopping. And I think that might be the bigger weak spot for the Broncos, which is their linebacker core, particularly the middle linebackers. It depends on who they play, who they elevate, etc. But I do think that from a run stoppability, we've shown that the Broncos have done a pretty darn good job of doing that this season, where we've kept running backs locked down pretty well. But where I think that the linebackers will get exposed is if we're not able to contain Josh Allen. And I think that is where their main weakness is, which is they kind of overcompensate to the running backs. So they move from this to this, and it leaves those edge points sometimes exposed depending on the defensive scheme. And Vance Joseph has had that as a weak spot actually in his defenses for quite some time now. Sorry, Coach, but it's just a fact. I know Coach, who was here earlier, is a huge Vance Joseph fan. I think he's redeemed himself over the last little bit here with my Denver Broncos, but he's got weak points in his defense, and running quarterbacks is definitely a weak spot in terms of how his schemes generally work. So I think that'll be a challenge with the linebackers, but then you kind of go to the defensive backs and the defensive backfields compared to the wide receivers. And I think that's, again, like decision Broncos. I actually think that our defensive backs and safeties match up very well against the other offensive players on the Buffalo Bills. I think our cornerbacks, particularly Pat Surtain, matches very well against any one of the wide receivers there. I think it was an anomaly in what you saw from Riley Moss in the game against the Chargers and whatnot. I think that,
That's his first game back, Moss?
That's his very first game back.
Okay, sure.
He was out for a long time. He had rust, etc. But he was
white on white crime, man.
he is literally one of the leading, if not the leading tackler on the Denver Broncos. I picked up what you're putting down. I want to condense what I'm saying here. So
the only corner the white corner to get a pick this season.
Yeah. So I just think that there's a number of things that the Broncos match up like really favorably, or at least on paper very favorably against the Bills. And then on the defense, and so that's just the defensive side. And then on the offensive side, our offensive line is at least on paper, depending on which stat you're looking at, deemed number 1 in pass blocking, which I take with a bit of grain of salt. But nonetheless, credit where credit's due. They have kept the pocket relatively clean for Bo Nix, and that has to be something that you at least acknowledge. But where they've struggled, but then oddly enough in the last 2 games have actually greatly improved, is the run blocking. The last 2 games in particular, the Broncos have really started to be able to run the ball a little bit better. And then I also think that we're getting another running back option available to us in Batty, depending on how you want to. And he's a very good running back. Like he's run the ball very well for us when he's been on the pitch. Is that where he's from,
Mizzou?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh. So you got Batty, you got Javonte Williams, you got Estime, and you got Julian McLaughlin. And I think that combination of a running back room, by elevating
the 4
that,
horsemen, literally.
I think you've got a really good running back room with some versatility, and I think that has some ability for us to run the ball and also rotate to find the hot hand to actually help us win the game. I think it's going to be tough sledding. I think it's going to be a very difficult game. I think this is going to come down to kind of last possession and or field goal kind of thing.
Yep.
I'm going to say that I think the Bills probably win with the field goal walk-off.
What's your score? Because we're
but I could easily get myself to a point where I can envision the Broncos defense causing some damage and doing some things with Josh Allen, like a pick or a pick 6 or some combination of that, and have the game kind of get a little bit out of hand for the Bills and have my Broncos actually beat the Bills, which would certainly shock the world. But I wouldn't be sitting there saying I never saw it coming. I'd say it's an unlikely outcome.
Suicide watch.
Oh, dude, Bills Mafia would be in shame.
I predict some Allen on Allen crime.
Yes.
Yeah. Big time Allen on Allen crime. Hey, another thing. Has anybody checked the weather for the Buffalo and Broncos game? It's just cold.
Denver's used to it, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say these teams are used to it.
It's one team that would be comfortable traveling.
Yeah,
Denver. It's like say it's a bad weather game, then that's
we're also
steamed up. Go ahead.
Oh, no, just what were you saying?
I was saying like if it's a bad like weather game in Buffalo, like say snowing or whatever, that's schemed up for Buffalo to run. So it's QB and Cook or whatever doing that whole thing. But if it's just going to be cold, then that opens up the passing game as well. So there's that extra element. So I was just wondering on that part.
We're forgetting it's the Von Miller revenge game.
Oh, another good key point. Hasn't he like heated up like in these last few games?
Yeah, like, a sack last game.
Yeah. So it's kind of like weird seeing that.
I think the Broncos have 3 things they need to do in order to win this game. 1, they need to not turn the ball over at all. Because if you give any possessions away to the Bills, you're going to lose this game. Yeah, 2, you need to force at least 1 turnover yourself. You're going to have to steal possession against the Bills. Yeah. And 3, you're going to need at least 110 yards on the ground rushing. Because you're going to need to be able to control the clock somewhat in order to, like you said, Rich, hopefully you're the team tied down 1, whatever, with 2 minutes left on the clock, and you can go down and kick that walk-off field goal.
Your third part's a definite. Your third part,
not get it blocked.
Like I can see the Broncos
getting
150 yards on the ground.
Oh yeah, if they can get, I mean, I'm just saying more so for the possession like aspect. Yeah, if they can run wild on the Bills, I give the Broncos a great chance to win because that defense can keep you in any game.
Yeah, so I think my general score, as I'm kind of going back and forth on this, I think both quarterbacks have the ability, given the defense on both sides of the ball. I think that it's going to be, I'm going to say high scoring game, but I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than I think people are originally thinking it's going to be, because I think both quarterbacks are, Bo Nix is kind of on the upwards trajectory a little bit in terms of how he's kind of seeing the field and the stuff he's doing, which again, have to give him credit where credit's due in that regard. And in the last KC game, the one thing, Alex, that Sean Payton was doing with Bo was he was allowing him to kind of just like open the playbook and read the field and make the plays and make the calls and that kind of stuff. If we continue to see that of Bo Nix and have Bo Nix make the right calls and the right adjustments and the right things, my general score prediction right now, as I'm coming into the game, is I think it's 27-24 Bills. Because I think it's just a tick higher than what most people were thinking the score is probably going to be. I think they're thinking it's going to be a little bit lower than that.
I got 23-20, so
but I think
with that.
But I just think that both quarterbacks have shown more offense this season, and while it's possible that it goes into a score like you said there, Robert, I just think that both teams have put up a little bit more offense than that this season, and we've all played, both the Bills and the Broncos, solid defenses and put up points that are in the 20s. And so I kind of just see that happening.
What's the do we know the point spread for this game?
9.
9, really?
There's the largest. Yeah,
that's crazy. Actually, if I'm a betting
total's
person,
47 points.
40. Yeah, that's so.
Is that the largest of the playoffs?
I don't know about that, but the spread's the spread's the second largest. The Ravens.
So what they have them? They have the Bills winning. What would that be? 30. If it's 9-point spread, 47.5. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I definitely give the Broncos, if the Broncos can keep this within a possession going into the fourth quarter, I give them a very good chance in this game. I like you said, Rich, you predicted we're right there. Like it's going to be a walk-off field goal. I just think it's going to be a little bit low scoring. I think it's 23-20. I think come playoff time, you see the off. Yeah, 24. Okay, yeah. So we're all pretty much in agreement. Three-point games.
I try not to make the wanky scores.
Yeah, I know, right? I think just once you get into the playoffs, you see the offenses, those defenses start to tighten down. Offenses have to kind of, I don't want to say find new ways to win, but you have 18 weeks of tape on you that these defenses are looking at. So, you got to find some new innovations, find some things that you haven't done, pull some things out of your ass that you haven't really pulled out. This is the time to do it, playoff time. So I think it's going to be, like you said, a lot closer than people think. So yeah, I got 23-20.
Has there been a defense that's played Buffalo really well?
Ravens. The Ravens held them to 10.
So do they spy Josh Allen? Like that's what I'm wondering.
Have to.
Yeah, you have to.
Right. So who would the Broncos have? Who on the Broncos defense?
Benito.
Would you want spying Josh Allen? I don't think you'd want Benito.
You'd probably do it a combination.
Maybe
they would probably have Stranad spy Allen for some plays. Hand off to Benito and Cooper on the edges on others. Both guys are.
I mean, Benito is playing really, really well. So.
He's playing. He's playing
him and
insane.
Allen. I love those guys. Like I hate playing against them, but I love.
Yeah. So I think those would be the guys that would do it. And then the other thing is that once they end up with Allen running, you'll likely see a safety kind of run up from the back to try to stop him as well. The one thing I will give Vance Joseph credit for is his initial game plan on defense is normally okay. The question is his second adjustments, and not even just the adjustments themselves, is does he have the secondary adjustment to the adjustments, as in like when the other team zigs after the half and they figure out what he's done, does he have the second punch to cross back, to fight back, to kind of then make that other piece? Traditionally, he has not done that. My biggest concern in this game actually isn't necessarily the teams themselves. It's Vance Joseph has already been pulled into the head coaching carousel search. And is he prepping for potentially his next interview and hopeful next head coach option, rather than planning the Broncos defense. That would be my concern.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I'm pretty similar to you and Robert's, take that. I think it's definitely not a 9-point differential type game.
Take those points if you're betting.
I do think it is a game that the Bills win. But to me, there's three big X factors. And, the first one, obviously, Richie talked about the Broncos and their ability to get pressure. I mean, they led the NFL in sacks. But, the catch-22 to that is the Bills also gave up the fewest amount of sacks in the whole league with 14. So, you have the best edge rush group against the best O-line group. Which one gets the best of the other, in that realm? Like, I mean, if the Broncos are able to get pressure the way they have in some games, that certainly opens the door for, a lot, things to be swayed more in their favor. But I mean, if they kind of fall in line with what other teams are have not been able to do and not sack Josh Allen, that I think, is going to make it more difficult for it to be a game. The second X factor is, obviously it's Bo Nix's rookie first playoff game. I'm with Robert that they can't turn the ball over. And so, he's done that in games, but I mean, to his credit, that he's also played, I think, almost 10 games where he hasn't turned the ball over. So, I mean, over half of the season, he's played turnover-free football. So which version of that do you get, when the lights are brightest in his first playoff, moment? And that's, that's the kind of second prong to it. And then the last one is, which Bills defense shows up, because, they played, I think they finished the year with the Jets and the Patriots, who we've already alluded to. While those were divisional games, are, I think everyone can agree, pretty ass teams right now.
It's weird because the Jets aren't really ass. They're playing like ass.
They're ass. I think
on paper they have. So literally their last three games have been Patriots, Jets, Patriots.
What a way to go into the playoffs.
They've coasted.
Getting ready for the season.
That's like playing FCS East, West, and Midwest. Before you got Alabama #1. But in the 2 weeks before that, so weeks 14 and 15, their defense gave up 44 points and 42 points. 44 points to the Rams and 44 and 48. So 44 to the Rams and 48 to the Lions. Like, obviously, Lions, hell of an offense. The Rams.
What's that LA game? That was in LA too, though, right?
Both were away games, but still, you're looking at a defense that gave up 40-plus games and then played 40-plus points and then finished their season against two of the worst offenses in the NFL. And now you have the Broncos offense, who has been heating up at the right time and certainly getting, more creative and more explosive. So which Bills defense shows up? If it's one that's more in line with the earlier parts of the season, that can certainly make things difficult for the Broncos as well. But I mean, those are my three big X factor things to watch. But ultimately, I think just the Bills are the more experienced team, and I think that's gonna play the big factor in them kind of getting that final push at the end of the game to win. But like I said, I think it's 24-21. So, I mean, it could very easily go the other way.
I'm curious to see on the Broncos side if they let Nix do some of the stuff he did early in the season. Just been like, boom, go, dude. Like,
I say they should.
Let's not forget Sean Payton's the same guy that started the Super Bowl second half off with onside. Yep. So he might be like, hey, Bo, you're 30. Go for it.
I was gonna say, I think this is I think the fact that Broncos made the playoffs in Bo's rookie season is already success enough. Like, anything you do from here on out
Richie
is
was saying earlier about them drafting QBs and how it's been not a thing for the Broncos. Nope. It's pretty incredible what's going on in Denver, especially. I mean, those Ducks, man.
Are you ready to admit that Bo Nix, it was the right decision to start him immediately?
No.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
No, like
That's
so.
what we'll talk about next show.
Yeah, so I mean, Robert, when you weren't here, and I guess you didn't see that part of the show. Alex and I were chatting about the same thing, which is I'm willing to say that he's definitely learned from those mistakes in the earlier part of the season. So that's great. But what we will never know, and this is why I said no, is because you'll never know if Bo is the type of guy that had to actually play through and make those mistakes in season, or if he's the guy that could watch it from the sideline and say, oh, I would have maybe done that, but look where that dude was. If I had made that throw, then it would have been picked. Like, these guys are at a level that a lot of us are not. Like, they go back and look at the tape and they can kind of they can visualize themselves, like what they would have done and how they would have done it. So is Bo the type of guy that needs to make the mistake and then overcome it? Or is Bo the type of guy that is just as good or can end up in the same spot by watching it from the sidelines and playing it back and then come in and then not make those mistakes? Some guys require the, baptism through fire, so to speak, in terms of the term, which is I have to throw, an ungodly number of picks in my first 2 games to basically, force myself to not make those errors again. Whereas other guys are like Sam Darnold and some of these other guys that, that rocks them to their core, making those mistakes on the field. And they actually, and now all of a sudden they're ruined forever, or not forever, but at least for a while, until they can like recoup and kind of get themselves grounded and centered. So
I think
that's
Sean Payton had a couple things going with Bo Nix. I think he saw the amount of games this kid started in college, which was a ton, right?
A lot. They're
Yeah,
two different big programs.
Yeah, right, and had some decent success. And then he also wanted to show, like, hey, I'm making the right choice with this guy over what happened with Russell Wilson. Like, let's get that taste out of our mouths right away. Like, so I think there was those 2 factors going into him starting like he did. And yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it worked, right?
I mean, that's why I feel like, as Rich said, like, we don't know if he would have been the type to sit back and learn and improve off that, or if he's the type to make mistakes and learn from that. I think he's proven that he's the type where he can make mistakes and then learn from it, as seeing his growth throughout the season. We saw, and like you said, there's mistakes that he made in those first 4 weeks of the season that he doesn't make later on. And I know, they did lose 2 of these games that, were winning in scenarios, but they went up against a division rival that was basically playing for their playoff life, because I don't think people realize this. If the Chargers lose that game to the Broncos,
you're done.
Yeah, we're pretty much like the odds of us making the playoffs are,
they drop dramatically.
Yeah, significantly drop. And I know we probably would have still gotten in just because we play the Patriots and the Raiders, and those were 2 pretty much easy wins, seeing how they went. But I still it wasn't like you didn't come away from that game and like, oh my God, Bo Nix was like the reason we lost, and he's terrible. Like, no, like it was a loss that you take on the chin. And, I feel like everything that Nix has learned this season was warranted and well put to good use. And I feel like next season, we're going to see a completely different Broncos team. We're going to see a Bo Nix that is completely confident in the system, is unlocked, so to speak, through Sean Payton. We're going to see them address his weapons, because he does need to get some more weapons offensively, see them address that O-line, and see them address that run game, because I feel like this team is going to be at its best when they have a solid run game, because when Nix is able to have that threat of, you can't just drop 6 or 7 back in coverage, you actually have to respect some form of run game up top. And that's when the play action, that's when these kind of short yak routes kind of go big. And we saw some of that happen in the Chargers game. And obviously, Minter was able to make adjustments at halftime and kind of, flip the script on it. But we saw the potential of what the Broncos offense could be as a whole. And when that defense is playing like we know they can, I mean, realistically, that's a tough ask to.
I think you made like a solid point, like about the running, right? They need to figure out. They need to quit messing with 4 guys.
I know, yeah.
1, 2 dudes. But one thing I'm going to kind of disagree with you about, like unlocking, I think it's just phase 2 of the Saints North for me for the Broncos next year. I don't think like it's so different. I think it just gets better. It gets what's that term? What's that word I'm looking for? It just gets
Enhanced.
smoothened out, you know,
Yeah.
and phase 2.0 of just, you know, how people were
Better
calling us
version. Yeah.
Ravens West or, you know, Tennessee West or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just that phase 2. So I think it's going to be more of the same from Bo, and it's just they're just going to like I
Look
think
better.
it's a rushing look better, and when they find that running back, that bell cow, that I don't know if anybody can be a Kamara, but you know what I mean, kind of like
Yeah.
that factor, then and I'm not looking forward to it. 'cause
Nope. Not at all.
I'm not looking
No.
forward to it.
No. Well, guys, I think that's going to end the show for us there on that positive note on the Broncos. Oddly enough, we are all like plus or minus like a field
3
goal basically
Yeah,
within our
we're all
score
right there.
predictions. Yeah, like we're all right there.
Hot take, I'm predicting the Broncos to win.
Oh, all right.
I got the Broncos winning by a fumble recovery, and it sets them up for a score.
Wow. All
Sets
right.
them up for a score late in the game.
That's exactly what
Watch
I said.
all this
depending
stuff
on-
happen. The D's
Yeah.
just the oracle.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were saying walk-off
Everyone-
field goal by Bass for the Buffalo Bills. I think Broncos defense creates a turnover. It's deep in Bills territory, and it sets them up with a few minutes. And Peyton is being a veteran head coach,
Killing all
gets them
that
a
clock.
score. Yep, kills the clock and sets them up for a
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
Well, I would love that. Because
that'd be
we wouldn't
super
play the
interesting.
Chiefs.
Yeah, so that'd be super interesting. So that'll be, and that would obviously completely turn the next
Oh.
round there on his head.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of cool. So anyway, guys, with that in mind, we'll end the show there again on that positive note for my Denver Broncos, and wish you all the best. Where the West Side is the best side, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work